Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to week 5 of your SAT Math Prep Plug Time group. Ladies and gentlemen, please make sure that you are writing your first and last name at the top of your paper. Make sure you circle your teacher's name. If you have more than one teacher, feel free to circle more than one. And please make sure you are circling the class you are taking. If you're in more than one class, feel free to circle more than one. Now this week we're going to be looking at scatterplots, but this is going to be an introduction lesson of sorts because we're going to be looking at the other questions that they can ask us about scatterplots. And in reality, this week's lesson is really going to be more about interpreting what that scatterplot is showing you in terms of the actual data than it is about actually finding the equation of the line of fit or anything along the lines of what we've talked about before. So we're going to jump right in here. We're going to go down to example 1. And in reality, we're going to use this particular scatter plot for the entirety of this video. So it says the first metacarpal bone is located in the wrist. The scatter plot to the right shows the relationship between the length of the first metacarpal bone and the height for 9 people. Both measurements are in centimeters. The line of best fit is also shown. So here in the scatter plot, we've got 9 points of data, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And we have a scatter plot or a line of fit for that data right here. So remember that in a scatter plot, the points themselves are the actual data, and the line of best fit is a prediction. If you were to add more, that line would predict the height of other people. So the first question here says, how many of the 9 people have an actual height? Those would be your actual data points. That differs by more than 3 centimeters from the height predicted by the line of fit. So when we see this differs by more than 3 centimeters, we're saying the data point is more than 3 units, which would be 3 lines, above or below the line of fit. Because that would be our prediction. The line of fit gives us our prediction. So when we're looking here, what we're saying is, okay, here's a data point right here. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5. That is about 5 units below the line. So that is way more than a 3 centimeter difference between the actual data and the line. So when we go through and we look at each of the 9 points, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of those points are more than 3 lines, more than 3 centimeters, which each line is 1 centimeter on the scale. So this one is about 5 units away. This one is almost 8, is about 8 units away. This one here is about 5 units away. And this one here is about 5 units away. So there are a total of 4 points that are 3 or more units above or below the line of best fit. Okay, so again, we're going to keep using this scatter plot here. So I am going to grab it real quick and make sure that it stays on the screen. So give me just 1 second to get that accomplished. Okay, we're going to continue to use this scatter plot and this description, but we are not going to be using example 1 anymore. So let me pull this to another screen here so that we can keep going. Okay, so here's our scatter plot, and we're going to need that available to us. Okay, so on example 2, it says, which of the following is the best interpretation of the slope of the line of best fit in the context of the problem? Okay, so let me get that picture put back in here. Okay, and we're going to Grab that item and we're going to shrink it down so that it fits on the screen here. We're just going to put it over to the side here so we can move it around as we need to. Okay, so here is the same scatter plot. It's on your paper, so you shouldn't need to redo this, right? You've got it available to you. Okay. So it says, which of the following is the best interpretation of the slope? So remember that when we see the word slope, that is a rate of change, m. Okay, which is the change in the y over the change in the x, which means it needs to be, the y is the height. So it needs to be the change in height as compared to the change in the length of that metacarpal bone. So when we look at our options here, two of them don't even describe a rate. Okay? C, that is not a rate. So that is not the correct answer. It's not describing a rate of change. The same with D. That is not a rate. So right away, when we know that we're describing the slope, those two should be eliminated immediately from our thought process because they don't describe a rate. Okay? We are looking for words like increase, decrease, per, each. Okay, so that we see a rate word. So of these other two, we see the word increase. Those are the words that indicate that it is in fact a rate. So then we just have to figure out which rate is the correct rate. Well, that comes down to the units. The slope has to be the change in y over the change in x. If we look at the scatter plot, the y-axis is marked with height, meaning that it needs to be the change in height for every metacarpal length. Okay? So if we look at the two options, letter B, okay, is really showing us the change in x over the change in y. The height and the metacarpal length are backwards. So that is not the correct answer either. A is the correct answer because that is the one that shows us the predicted height increase for each 1 centimeter increase in metacarpal bone. So our correct answer on example 2 would be A, because that is the one that correctly shows us slope is the change in our y value over the change in our x value. Whereas B puts the x value on top, which is incorrect for slope. All right, on to example 3. Example 3 says, based on the line of best fit, what is the predicted height for someone with a first metacarpal bone that has a length of 4.45 centimeters? So we need to realize that a metacarpal bone, 4.45 centimeters, that is an x value. So we go to our line of fit and we locate 4.45. Now remember that these lines are each 0.1. So this is 4.1, this is 4.2, etc. So this is 4.4 at this line. 4.45 would be halfway between 4.4 and 4.5. So what we do is we trace that up to the line of best fit, and you'll see that I'm drawing a point on the line of best fit because the word predicted, that tells us on the line of fit. So this question is really saying on the line of best fit, what is y when x is 4.45? So this point here, we trace that across, and you'll notice we're right at 170. So when x is 4.45, y is 170 centimeters because 4.45, 170 is the point on the line of best fit where x is 4.45. Okay? All right, on the back is another scatter plot with similar questions. Once again, please turn your paper over, Complete those questions, including your work, which would be your reasoning why your answer is or is not the correct answer. Okay, and when you are done, turn your paper in to your proctor. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and attention here during plug time. Your efforts are going to help you in the long run on the SAT. Please keep working hard. Thank you for your time.